So we know what discernment is. I know that discernment is all about sifting through all the voices in my life so I can best hear the voice that I want to hear, which is the only voice that I want to be informed by, the voice of God, the one who created me, the one who teaches me to how to become fully alive. That's the voice that I want to hear above all others. And I want to live by that voice. And that's where I seek and I experience consolation. I know what discernment is not. I know that discernment is not living with absolute certainty what God has prepared me for. I know that I walk by faith, that I sit in the silence to hear his voice. And I walk by a certain conviction of faith, knowing that God has a plan for my life. And when I take a step with him, I am learning more and more about who I am and what he desires me to be, but it's not absolute certainty. There seems that we need an underlying conviction to all that we do, something that discernment starts with. What is that preemptive notion that we need to even start discernment? So we end the week with something we should start with. We need to start with conviction that nothing on this earth satisfies. That's the foundation of discernment. That's the reason for discernment. In fact, if it were true that there was something on this earth that satisfies, why would I need to be informed by God about anything? In fact, discernment would be superfluous. I wouldn't need discernment. I wouldn't need to hear God's voice. I wouldn't need to hear the voice of the one who created me because I could become fully alive without him. And so discernment starts with that conviction. And you know what? I believe that most Christians believe that conviction, but I also believe that a lot of us don't live with it. We don't live with the conviction that nothing on this earth satisfies. I mean, can you imagine the witness that Christians would have in the world today? How different we would live? The heroic witness that we would live in the world when we show that we're not living for this world, we're living for something else. When we're not bothered by all that goes on in secular culture, when we seek to engage the culture. And culture actually desires to live as we live because they know that they're not experiencing true fulfillment. They're not becoming fully alive without discerning the voice of God. Can you imagine the heroic witness of priesthood, of religious life? Can you imagine the heroic witness of marriages? If we actually lived with the conviction that nothing on this earth satisfies. Do you know how many people are waiting for us to live with that conviction? Maybe that is keeping people away from the church, keeping people away from Jesus. Maybe that's an obstacle for that eternal exchange of love that people are made for. Maybe we are the obstacle because we don't live with that conviction. We're not a convicting witness, that we're actually living for another world. Isn't that the witness that Jesus gave? How did Jesus get so many followers? Why did so many people drop everything to follow him and hang on every one of his words? The only thing that he talked about was the other world. He talked about that they were made for another world. He told people to take up their cross and follow him, and they said, okay. They were willing to go to their death for the truth that came out of his mouth. Why are we so afraid to live with that conviction? In fact, that's where we need to start discernment. We need to remember at every moment, there's nothing here that's going to bring me fully alive. Whatever you've experienced in life, just remember those things. Remember and be honest with yourself about your continued search for something more. There's something more that I haven't yet experienced. And I've only had sustained pleasure or sustained joy and peace when I've engaged the voice of God and I've followed his will for my life. We need to become heroes so that other people can experience the life of Jesus, so that they too can live a heroic life. We'll only do that when we are convicted that nothing on this earth satisfies, and we start to listen in the silence of our hearts, in the silent prayer of every single day, to the voice of the God who speaks.